Welcome to the Handmade Daily. My name is Lena, and I'm the very proud owner, the very proud owner of madeit.com.au. And no, I'm not editing it out because the topic today that I had written down was building trust through honesty. And I think in this whole world of editing that we're constantly editing ourselves and constantly tweaking and making ourselves perfect. But as per our previous episode, humans are imperfect, right? And it's actually in the imperfections that we get to make connections. But this topic is a little bit different to this, and it's about how you can show up as yourself, but also in a business context, because there's a bit of a fine line, right? And I was talking to Marcelina from Illustrations by Herman about this quite a while ago when we had our one-on-one session. You can check out the one-on-one session we had. It was so good. Anyway, and I was saying we want to see more of you, and she came back to me and sort of said, well, no, you don't want to see all parts of me. Like, I'm not going to show up exactly how I am with my friends and family. And she put it back on me and said, well, what about you? Is that how you show up? And I really had to pause, actually, because I was like, I think this is the same version of me that I show up elsewhere. But on reflection, it is, but it also is to a point, right? Like, you've got an expectation of turning up here for the Handmade Daily and getting some insights, but also how you expect to see me as well. You know, there's definitely some times when I'm straight from the gym and straight from class that I'm not showing you that version of me all the time. I definitely do sometimes, but it did make me think about, we want to build trust through honesty, but it's also about remembering that this is a business as well. And so this is a little bit of a long game idea, I would say. And it's about asking, how could you show up more as you while still creating those connections in a business sense? Now, one of the posts that I've seen quite a lot, which I really struggle with, to be honest, and it sort of stops me in my tracks a bit. And it's a post that a lot of handmade artisans will share, and it's about customers coming through and saying, like, you're too expensive, or I don't value that, or $200, that's crazy, I'd pay $20, or something like that, and sharing it on their public business pages. And do you know what happens in that moment? This is just work with me on this, right? What happens to me when I sit there thinking as a customer, I think, well, what are you saying about me? And it makes me think, well, what about that message that I sent you asking if you could make it in pink, or if it was available in silver, or any sort of things like that. It makes me question the communications that we might have had, and where I might have been outside a boundary that I wasn't aware of. Now, I understand the idea of sharing that, right? But I think you've got to pick your platform where you share it. And when we're talking about building trust and connection, all those sorts of things, that might be something. There may be a story that you could share there with other artisans. And it's like, okay, well, where am I going to share that? Maybe I'm going to share it in a space that is really just for artisans. Maybe it's at a meetup, or maybe it's in a separate group or something. But I think sharing it where your customers are, I think you've just got to remember, how would the customer see that? And I think it can be that fine line between talking about the value of your products and potentially having a rant. And a woman that I've connected with over the last 12 months, Odette Barry, she's a PR woman that actually teaches other brands how to get their own PR. She's absolutely brilliant, and she does lots of work for not-for-profit organisations as well. And she talks about how there can be stories in your history and stories in your past that are really great stories and really great opportunities for connection, but you only share them once you're past it. So if you've had a scenario where it's like, oh, and it all fell apart and it was an absolute disaster, you know, if it was something like, oh, the ceramics broke in the kiln, that's a great little share. This is what happened. And then that's showing the reality of how you craft and how you create. But let's say if it was something much bigger, and it might be about where a retail shop knocks you back or that sort of thing. I don't think that when it happens, it's necessarily something that you want to share on your business page socials straight away. It's something that you almost want to bank and share it. It's like, I used to always say with my fashion brand, it's like, oh, when we get interviewed by Vogue, that's the story that I'm going to share. And the same kind of thing goes there. But when it comes to, those conversations about customers questioning your quality, instead of having a little bit of a rant, and if you have done one of these posts, please take this with grace and with empathy because I get it. But what I would say is, how else could you approach it? Could you approach it with curiosity? And what I mean by that is that if someone is shocked by your price, then my question to you is, do you communicate your value? And so let's say an example with that one where I was saying, oh, customer said, why is it $200? Should be $20, right? Well, if your product is $200 because it's handmade, you've painted it, the paints that you use, I'm just using a painting as an example, the frame that you use, have you shared all of that stuff? Or have you made an assumption that people will know that? Because even me, as the owner of madeit.com.au, I still have occasions where I'm saying to artists, did you honestly make this? Because it's so perfect and it's so beautiful that my head can't wrap around the fact that someone has actually made this by hand, even though I'm deep in the world of handmade. So I think when those opportunities pop up, get curious, put on your Inspector Gadget hat and go, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why they said that. And think about, how could I show my value more? And then you can save the the memes and all the funny stuff. Maybe you can save that with other artisans, or maybe you can save it for when you get interviewed by Frankie Magazine or Peppermint or whatever it is that you've got in your head. Anyway, look, that's it for the Handmade Daily. I hope it sparks some thought. I hope it sparks some ideas. And pop in the comments if you're enjoying this. And please like and subscribe and share it with your handmade artisan friends. Have a beautiful day. Bye.